Once
there was a prince who thought he was a rooster.
Now, while other princes spent their time learning how to rule the kingdom, or courting princesses, or slaying dragons, this prince shed his royal robes, and he spent his days crouched beneath a table, refusing to eat anything but kernels of corn.
His father, the king, was rather upset by this. He said, "Send for the finest doctors in the land. I'll give a huge reward to anyone who can cure my son."
And doctors came from all across the kingdom. Each of them tried, but none could cure the prince. He still thought that he was a rooster, and he spent his days crouched underneath that table, refusing to eat anything but kernels of corn, preening his feathers and crying, "Ah, ah, ah."
Finally, one day, a wise man arrived in the kingdom. He said, "If you give me 1 week alone with your son, I will cure him."
Others have tried and failed, but if you can do as you say, I will give you 1 week alone with my son.
And so the wise man was shown into the room where the prince stayed. He pulled the door tightly shut behind himself, and then he too shed his fancy robes, and he crouched under the table near the prince, and he began to eat kernels of corn.
The prince was suspicious. "Who are you?"
The wise man remained calm. "I am a rooster." And he went back to eating kernels of corn. After a short time, he turned back to the prince and said, "And who are you?"
"I too am a rooster."
And with that, the two of them became good friends. They spent their days crouched under the table, refusing all food except for kernels of corn, preening their feathers and crying, After a few days had passed in this manner, the wise man crawled out from under the table one afternoon, and he put his fancy robes back on.
The prince was shocked. Roosters don't wear clothes like that.
"I'm a rooster," the wise man assured him, "and if I want to dress this way, I can."
Oh, well, the prince considered this as well, and after a short time, he decided to imitate his friend, and he too wore clothes.
After another day or so had passed, the wise man crawled out from under the table and brought one of the trays of good food which had been left for them each day outside the door, but which previously they both refused to eat. He brought that tray of food under the table with him, crouched down, and began to eat the delicious food.
Oh, phew, the prince was disgusted. Roosters don't eat that kind of food.
"You can be a perfectly good rooster," the wise man assured him, "and eat anything you wish to."
Oh, well, the prince considered this as well. And after a short time, he decided to imitate his friend, and he too ate that food.
After another day or so had passed, the wise man crawled out from under the table, and he began to walk around the room, standing upright, straight and tall, walking like a man.
The prince was beside himself. Now, roosters just don't get up and walk around like that.
"I'm a rooster," insisted the wise man, "and if I want to walk this way, I will."
Well, the prince considered this as well, and after a short time decided to imitate his friend, and he too got up and walked.
And so it was. By the end of the week, the prince no longer acted like a rooster. He wore clothes and ate food and
walked like a man.
Well, the king was overjoyed and welcomed his son back with open arms.
Oh, as for the wise man, he collected a large reward and happily went on his way.